Show Me the Money NFL picks for week number 11 are here on the podcast. Joining me today to break it all down. He's host of the Seeing Red podcast. You may know him better if you're watching the Carton Show as Troy the Researcher. Troy Mauriello is here. Troy, how are you?
Mike, it's a pleasure to be back. My first, I feel like it's my first time this season, kind of coming back of this podcast. So I'm happy to be back on with you, and hopefully you've been doing well with your picks this football season.
I've not been doing great, but at least you get to hang out with Craig Carton every day, so that's a win.
that is a win. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Craig is great, and yeah, it's a lot of fun doing that show every morning. And like I said, Craig is awesome to work with, and he definitely makes the early wake up worth it. I'll say that.
Yeah, if those of you do not watch the Carton Show on FS1 in the mornings, Troy's a researcher of that show. You'll see him on screen every now and then as well.
Yeah. Craig is nice enough to let me be on the screen. Now, when I am on TV, I'm usually getting made fun of, but I take it all in stride. I don't take myself too seriously. I got a cheesecake to the face the other day. It is what it is. It's all in fun, and I know Craig is always having fun with it. So yeah, I'm very, very happy. You could definitely check out the Carton Show if you're looking for something new in the morning. We're on at 7 a.m. every morning.
Absolutely here. And let's get to your Cowboys. It's the reason why you're here today, because the Cowboys played one of the most thrilling games of the week outside of the Viking Bill game in week 10. They blow the 14-point in the fourth quarter, lose to the Packers. You see Mike McCarthy slam the headset down. We had the big viral moment here. What'd you take away from that game?
Yeah, I think it just kind of exposed a lot of the flaws that Cowboys fans and maybe the national media have been seeing about the Cowboys. You know, they can't really stop the run on the defensive side of the ball. They're one of the worst defenses in the league at stopping the run, and that kind of hinders their defense when they can't pin their ears back and rush the passer, when they can't be forcing third down and long, getting teams behind the sticks. That kind of stops really what their biggest strength is, which is getting to the quarterback, forcing turnovers, getting sacks with Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, guys like that. If they can't stop the run, I don't know how they're going to go very far this season. In the playoffs, when you look at some of these teams that they're going to be facing, Philadelphia runs the ball well. The Niners run the ball exceptionally well. The Minnesota Vikings have a really good offense who they'll be playing this week. So, they really didn't fully address that. Again, they got Hankins in the trade deadline, but they didn't really fully address that in the trade deadline. So if they can't stop the run, I don't really know where they're going to go in terms of the postseason. On the offensive side of the ball, Dak Prescott, he's a very, very good quarterback, but he's still not on that elite level. And I think that the Cowboys are trying to, almost force him to go to that Mahomes elite level. And he's just not that guy. You saw it in this game. Basically had three chances to put this game away. Could not do it. Had the scoring chance at the end of or near the end of regulation, had the scoring chance in overtime, couldn't get it done. It doesn't all fall on Dak Prescott. Some of it's on the play calling as well, but at some point, that they're just trying to make him into something that he's not, unfortunately. We'll see where it goes the rest of the season, but I'm not too excited about their chances going forward, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, it's interesting too, because they're in the NFC, which is the by far easier conference here. And you look the team, we just saw Philly lose last night, and they've had a lot of close games in there. The Vikings are the 1-score game kings, and they are 8-1. But I don't actually believe in them. The Giants, we don't trust that much. 49ers, Seahawks, we'll see out west. I mean, I feel like the window is there for Dallas to go to the Super Bowl. I do think, though, they need Odell Beckham Jr. in the worst way if he's ready to go. They really need to get help for Dak on the outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. The window is there. I said this a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if they've ever had as much of an opportunity to reach the Super Bowl as they do right now. You mentioned it. The NFC is not that strong. Philadelphia showed on Monday night. They have some weaknesses. They can be beat. They're I think the best team in the conference, but they're not an unbeatable team. They're not a team that you say you have no shot at beating. Minnesota, like you mentioned, have they been getting lucky in these games? Are they really that good? I guess we'll find out, but they've won a bunch of one-score games this season. The Giants, personally, I'm not too afraid of the Giants. I know that they can win close games as well, but I'm not terrified of them. The Niners have showed some flaws. The Seahawks, are they really for real? Even Tampa Bay, I'm not too afraid of Tampa Bay. The window is there for the Cowboys. It's just a matter of, are they going to take it? And like you mentioned, are they going to go out and get a guy like Odell Beckham who can put you over the top? You can see what he did for the Rams last season. The Cowboys need another playmaker on offense. It's painfully obvious. You look at this wide receivers corps. CeeDee Lamb is having a really, really good season quietly. I know he just had his first 100-yard game, but you look at his stats, he's comparable to some of the better receivers in the NFL right now. But after him, you've got Dalton Schultz, but you really don't have a number 2 wide receiver right now. Michael Gallup, I think, is still a little bit hindered by that injury, and then you have really no one to back him up. So they need a guy like Odell Beckham. They need a playmaker because one injury to that wide receiver corps, to CeeDee Lamb, to Dalton Schultz, you saw it with Ezekiel Elliott. This team is really, really going to struggle to put points on the board. A trade for or signing a guy like Odell Beckham could really, really give them a chance to have that one final weapon on offense that they really need.
Yeah, this week's game is fascinating to have with the Vikings coming up here. I mean, going into the season, you said, "Oh, good game," and you don't realize how good it is in terms of game of the week potential here because the Vikings obviously come with a huge win over Buffalo here. They're tied with the Eagles on top of the NFC. Eagles have a tie that win in week 2 here. Cowboys now 6-3, and then you got this game, the quick turnaround to the Giants on Thanksgiving here. What do you think of the keys to this game for the Cowboys here?
It's going to be stopping the run again with a guy like Dalvin Cook. How much can they stop a guy like Justin Jefferson? Justin Jefferson's been phenomenal for Minnesota this season, especially the last couple of weeks. We saw him last week against Buffalo. Will the Cowboys be able to stop him and a guy like Trayvon Diggs? Will he be able to shut down Justin Jefferson? But, like you mentioned, they play Minnesota, then they go and they play the Giants 4 days later on Thanksgiving. This is if things go wrong here, they can go really wrong for this team. We could be looking in basically a week from now, and the Cowboys could be 6-5 if they don't get their act together quickly, if they don't figure out how to stop the run. Like I said, both of their next 2 opponents coming up, the Vikings and the Giants, they can both run the ball. They both know how to win close games. You mentioned the stat about the Vikings. The Giants are phenomenal in close games as well. If the Cowboys don't get their act together, especially on the defensive side of the ball in terms of stopping the run, they could be a 6-5 team. And I mean, right now the Niners have 4 losses. They're the 7th seed in the NFC playoff picture. So the Cowboys could fall out of the playoff picture in a week from now if they don't figure things out and get things together.
How did the fall out? The NFC is very bad. They're right in it, but they're really much harder.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I do think I don't want to sound too alarmist here. I do think that they are a playoff team. I think they'll get to 10 wins. I think they'll get to 10, 11 wins this season. They have some easy games coming up. They play the entire AFC South after this run of 2 games. They'll get some wins there. They'll get to 10 wins. They'll get to 11 wins, like I mentioned. But yeah, if you're not the 5 seed, I think you really want to be that 5 seed and have a crack probably at Tampa Bay in that first round. I just think that's a better matchup for the Cowboys. I know the Bucs beat them in week 1, but that's a Tampa Bay team that really can't run the ball. They ran the ball a little bit better this week, but they're one of the worst offenses in the league at running the ball this season. I'd much rather play Tampa Bay, I think, in round 1 than have to go on the road and play someone like the Niners with Christian McCaffrey, or the Vikings again, or even the Eagles if they fall out of the top spot in the NFC. So like you said, that road can be a lot easier depending on how they finish these last couple of games.
I absolutely can. Here, let's get to the picks, which is also why you're here this week. The great John Stanko joined me last week on the picks, and he went 1-2 on the week. You can see on the screen the YouTube version. I got the graphic up here of what's going on. I got he took the Steelers laying 2.5 at home against the Saints. They won the game outright. He took the Bears laying 2.5 against the Lions. They blew that game late. Yeah, the 49ers laying 7, won by 6. So 1-2 on the week.
I don't like any of these records right now. 14-16 and 13-17. Yeah, it's been a rough year for everyone. I feel like I don't think anyone is having a good year gambling right
now. No, I mean, so they were one. So again, Stanko 1-2. Team visitors is 14-16 on the year. I went 1-2 also. I had the Giants laying the 6.5 against the Texans. They ended up winning by 8, cover the number. I rode with Stanko and the Bears. They let us both down, so that's a loss. I thought I was cruising with the Bills. They're up laying the 5.5.
Yeah.
7-10 the fourth quarter. They blow that. So I lose that game outright as well. 1-2 for me, 13-17 on the year. Also not great.
Yeah. Like I said, it's been a rough year for everyone. Something's going on with the NFL this season.
Yeah, and to make it worse, I had a parlay with like 4 picks on Sunday. I thought I had a good chance to like really crush this. I had the Giant one. I have all 3 of my picks plus the Steelers, and about like 335 on Sunday. I was like, oh, I'm gonna win big money. And
it was looking good.
Yeah, and then once Fields with a pick 6, I cashed out, went way too low. So I was gonna ride it, and nothing happened.
Yeah. The witching hour takes a lot of souls. It should be called the losing hour. That's basically when bets are lost. Yeah. Worst hour of football every week, I would say.
Absolutely here. And now let's get to the picks here. As the guest, you can go first. So where are you going with pick number one?
Okay, well, you mentioned you guys both had the Bears last week. I'm going to take the Bears +3 on the road against the Falcons. I like what Justin Fields is doing right now. They seem to finally figure out how to run that offense for him. They're on the road against Atlanta, but Atlanta is not much of a home field advantage. I think that the Bears are the better team. The Falcons with Marcus Mariota, I don't think he's much of a quarterback. I think they're going to end up going to Desmond Ridder at some point in the next couple of weeks once they really fall out of it. So I'm going to take the Bears getting 3 points on the road. I don't know if they'll continue their hot run of rushing the ball, but I do think that they will be able to cover this number and possibly win outright.
I did not take this game and get my full blessing on it because I feel like the Bears, they've been rushing it so offensively. Justin Fields breaking out. The fact they're 0-3 over the last 3 games is very bad luck here. I feel like they're due to have one bounce their way. This Atlanta team is not very good.
Exactly. They're playing so well over the last month, and they really don't have anything to show for it. I think this is their chance to finally get that.
All right, we're going to pick 2.
Pick 2, I'm going to go with the Denver Broncos against the Raiders. The Raiders are just a team that's completely in flux right now, losing to the Colts last week. I don't think that coach is on the hot seat just yet, but he probably should be after that loss. Denver is another team. They seem like they're due. Can they really be this bad? They're favored by 2.5 at home. I'm gonna go with the Raiders or the Broncos. I'm sorry. I'm not incredibly confident about it, but I'm gonna take the Broncos at home over the Raiders, who are just totally dysfunctional right now.
Yeah, I think if you were to take a side in this game, I think you are on the right side. This game I want no part of because this one scared the hell out of me.
Yeah, it's a scary one. I took a little bit of a swing there, so we'll see how it works out.
All right, where are you going with the last pick of the week? Pick 3.
Yeah, pick 3. Another one that I'm taking a swing, I'll admit, but I'm going to take the Chargers. They're getting 6.5 right now. I think that's going to go up though as the week goes on. They're at home against the Chiefs in prime time. The Chiefs kind of own them on the road. If you look at over the last 10 years, I know the Chiefs have won 8 in a row on the road over the Chargers. I don't think the Chargers are going to win this game, but I just think they'll be able to keep it close. These two played that epic game in Los Angeles last year on Thursday Night Football. This is a primetime game as well. I think that the Chargers will be able to keep it close. I think that this is a type of game where you could see the Chiefs up by 15 or 14, 2 scores, up by 13, and you get a little backdoor cover with the Chargers late. So I'm going to take the Chargers getting 6, hopefully a little bit more as the week goes on. I'm going to roll with Justin Herbert and the Chargers.
Yeah, for me, this is another one where I sort of stay away from it because the Chargers are so banged up. Like you see the path with them once they get past this game, the schedule gets much much easier. But I want no part of it. So taking it.
Yeah, it's a tough week this week. There wasn't a lot of obvious ones for me.
Yeah, there was not a lot of obvious ones here. I'm going to go up now on the board here. Pick number 1. This is a one I do not understand why this team keeps getting disrespected. I'm going to roll with the Giants again, laying 3 at home against the Detroit Lions. And I get Detroit's won 2 in a row, but the Giants are 7-2. They find ways to win 1-score games. Detroit has won 3 games. Their defense is one of the worst in football, and they're only laying 3. Something is fishy about that, but the Giants have earned my trust this year. I'm going to roll with them again. Giants laying 3 at home. Pick 1.
Yeah, I almost went with that one as well. And you said it completely there. The Giants, they've kind of earned our respect now in terms of Vegas kind of disrespecting them. I think you can trust them, and I think that's a good pick.
All right, pick number 1. Pick number 2. I think this is a interesting spot here for the Texans because they are at home. They're getting 3.5 against the Commanders, who short week, big emotional win over the Eagles, knocked off their unbeaten season. Now they go on the road, play a crummy team. This game screams Washington's going to come out struggling, and then they're going to have needing to win at the gun with a field goal. And I have a hook, which is fantastic. Texans are spunky. They're not great, but they do play hard. They gave the Giants a lot of trouble last week where New York pulled away late. Give me the 3.5 of the Texans at home against the Commanders. I think this is a letdown spot for Washington.
Yeah, I like that. Big time letdown spot for the Commanders. Short week, like you mentioned. Texans, they're not bad. I mean, they're obviously the record is terrible, but they are a frisky team. They can play with you. The Commanders are not anything to write home about, despite their win last week. Big time letdown spot for them. I like that pick.
All right, let's pick number 2. Pick number 3 with another underdog. I'm taking the Steelers getting 5 at home against the Bengals here. And I think this is one that, Pittsburgh's defense looked much better last week with TJ Watt back. They dominated the Saints on the ground here. Cincinnati is coming in here off the bye. They're probably feeling good with themselves, but this team already lost 2 in week 1 when the Steelers had TJ Watt. They forced Joe Burrow to throw 4 picks. I think 5 is way too many in this game. I know that the Bengals probably going to win this game, but this is a game in Pittsburgh. I need to see Cincinnati do this in a spot where they should win. Their schedule coming up is very hard. I don't trust them to get cover that number. So I'm going to take the 5 with the Steelers at home, my last pick of the week.
Yeah, Steelers are getting healthy now on the defensive side of the ball. Like you mentioned, they won this game in week 1. They caused fits for Joe Burrow, who's actually played very, very well after that point. But yeah, that is a lot of points, especially in a rivalry game like this. Again, another scenario where you could get a late score cut type of thing to get the cover for the Steelers. So I like that pick.
Plus, Jamar Chase may not be back for this game. He's on crutches at the start of the week. So if he's back, might not be fully healthy. And that would really have a chance of covering his number if he's not there.
Yeah, I like that pick a lot.
All right. So to reset the picks for week 11 here, I'm going to go ahead and get that one up here on the board. But I had the graphic made up here. So let me go ahead, pop it up. Give me a second here. YouTube version. This is being a little fluky, but get this set up here. And as of right now, again, stalling just briefly for time, but here we go. Troy is taking the Denver Broncos laying 2.5 in Vegas against the Raiders. He's taking the Bears getting 3 in Atlanta against the Falcons, and the Chargers getting 6.5 against the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. My pick, I'm going with the New York Football Giants. The number is wrong there, but it's a laying 3 against the Detroit Lions. The Houston Texans getting 3.5 at home against the Commanders, and the Steelers getting 5 at home against the Bengals. So those are your picks for week number 11 here on the podcast. Coming up next week on Thanksgiving week, short week here on the podcast. We're getting this one out here early, but everybody, Phil Frey is hopping on here. The big Giant fan. We're going to talk about that big Thanksgiving showdown next week.
Yeah, that's as a Cowboys fan, I'm not looking forward to that Cowboys Giants game. The Cowboys have a knack to ruin Thanksgiving for me, basically every year since I was about 10 years old. So not looking forward to a massive division game against the Giants, possibly for playoff seeding and division seeding as well. I am dreading that game completely coming up on Thanksgiving.
It's funny. I remember when the schedule came out, I did a little schedule breakdown with our buddy Nick Frey on the podcast here. He said, Giants Cowboys is going on here because the NFL thinks the Giants are going to be terrible, and this is the year to burn this game. Of course, it's probably the best game of the day.
Yeah, by far it's the best game of the day. I mean, Bills Lions isn't great. Patriots Vikings is okay, but yeah, I mean that's the premier game of the day, as the Cowboys often are, and they often come up short on Thanksgiving. So, like I said, I am not looking forward to that. Going into the season, I thought it would be an easy win for the Cowboys. Now it's looking like they could have some trouble on Thanksgiving once again for what feels like the 15th year in a row.
Although to be fair, go back to week 3, the Cowboys dominated them with Cooper Rush at quarterback. So with Dak Prescott healthy here, I think their chance is pretty good if they can, anything crazy happening on Sunday against the Vikings.
Yeah, and the Cowboys are the only team this season to beat the Giants in what's kind of been a close game. I know that game wasn't incredibly close, but they won it by 8. They're the only team this season to beat the Giants in a 1-score game. So, they can close it out. Like you mentioned, Cooper Rush started that game. I am more confident that Dak Prescott's playing, but you never know with the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Rivalry game against the Giants. Who really knows, to be honest.
Absolutely here. Before I let you go, obviously you're a big college basketball guy here. And we talked about this last year in the podcast, Thanksgiving week, there's a lot of fun stuff coming up with college basketball in terms of tournament and stuff like that. Anything you have your eyes set on, you want to watch in the weeks coming up?
Nothing in particular. I'll be at the I don't even know what it's called. I'll be at Barclays Center for the St. John's tournament there. They play Temple on Monday night and then could potentially play their old Big East foe Syracuse on Tuesday night if they can win next week. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to all of it, man. It's fantastic having college basketball back. I know not everyone's into it at the start of the season, but it feels like Feast Week is when we kind of first get our first look at some of these teams. We do have the Champions Classic coming up tonight, a couple of big games, but yeah, I'm just looking forward to all of it because this is when you start to really get that feel of college basketball. Then you get some big games in December before we roll into conference play. So just looking forward to sitting back and enjoying all of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward. I think I want to say the Phil Knight tournaments out in Oregon here.
Yeah, those both are loaded. Yeah.
I'm trying to pull up right now the teams here on the legacy side. You got Duke in here, Florida's in here, Gonzaga's in there, Purdue, West Virginia. That's a loaded one on that side. I believe there's also Michigan State's in there, the Kansas is in that one too. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah, and Gonzaga and Michigan State playing that game on the aircraft carrier. I love those games. Always been a big fan of those. That was a fun spectacle to see on Friday night.
Yeah, invitational side. I have that one pulled up right now too. Is Alabama, Iowa State, Michigan State, North Carolina, Oregon, Portland, UConn, and Villanova.
Yeah, and Villanova has not looked great so far to start the season. They lose to Temple, and then they barely beat Delaware State the other night. It's going to take some time for them. Oregon's another team that suffered an upset loss over the weekend, so it's going to take some time for those teams as well. But again, like, it's just fun to see how these teams react to playing legitimate, NCAA tournament competition in November. Obviously, it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things, but it's kind of like a little glimpse into who's for real or who may be for real and who is maybe a pretender down the road.
Yeah, one more game I'll throw out here for the audience looking for early stuff here. If you're not into that Chiefs Chargers game on Sunday night here, Sunday night in Spokane, 7:30, Kentucky at Gonzaga. That's going to be huge.
Oh, wow. I did not know that was Sunday night. Okay. Well, that's a big game. I will definitely have that one up. I may be flipping back and forth. I'll be watching Chiefs Chargers, of course, because I got to be sweating out my Chargers pick. But yeah, I'll definitely be either have the two TVs up or I'll be flipping back and forth to that one.
Absolutely here. Troy, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. People want to follow you on social media. How can they do that? Give some of the stuff you're doing.
Definitely. Yeah. You can check me out on Twitter at Troy Mauriello, Mauriello is that last name. Yeah, like you said, if you're a St. John's basketball fan listening to this, I still do put out some content. I'm planning to put out some content about the Red Storm men's basketball team later in the season. So definitely check me out on Twitter for all of that.
I feel like the Twitter's probably the more obvious place because Troy likes to go live as opposed to like just doing a podcast. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I've been doing those over the past couple of years, these, live streams after games. So once Big East play gets going, might get a couple of live streams going. So definitely follow me on Twitter if you're interested in St. John's basketball.